So hey, I'm Kyle Kirkwood from Pacvue. I'm the Director of Training here, and today we're here to talk about Walmart. I have a Client Success Manager and a Strategic Consultant, and why don't you guys start off with introductions?
All right, I joined Pacvue back in December. It's been an amazing ride. My focus is customer success. I work with mostly Walmart clients, so I have a lot of in-depth knowledge of the tool for Walmart and a lot of experience working with clients that are Walmart sellers.
And I'm Claire. I'm a senior account manager on our consulting team. I've been at Pacvue for about 20 months now. And I'm across multiple retailers, but I've always very much leaned into Walmart. So.
Okay, before we jump into Walmart, let's talk about Pacvue for a moment. So Wes, what's your favorite feature on Pacvue?
I would have to say my favorite feature is probably the search terms. For me, that's like looking under the hood of auto campaigns. There's a lot of mystery surrounding auto campaigns and what they actually do, where they execute. And I think search terms is like kind of pulling back the curtain and seeing what's actually happening. It's very informative and it can be critical for building a strategy.
Claire?
Mine seems very basic, but it's tags because it's organization. I think that's key to success. And it applies to, how you budget, how you report out, but it also allows you to have a super granular strategy and optimize it and, be organized and be able to handle all of those campaigns.
I can attest to Claire's proficiency with tags. I use her accounts as examples in all of our instructional videos. She uses tags perfectly, and I really enjoy checking them out. So the other thing we wanted to talk about was what's on your Pacvue wish list? What's something that you wish you could see implemented as soon as possible?
I'll go first. I think that something that would be really fun would be a kind of an award system, badges or medals.
Gamification.
Yeah, exactly. Gamification. Basically giving a little, serotonin boost or something like that. Each time you implement a new feature or something, hey, you get an award for that. Or when you cross a certain spend threshold, hey, you get a silver badge for that. Mm-hmm. I think that kind of motivation, while it sounds a little corny, it can really be effective and just allowing people to have fun with the tool. And it can be fun. It can be very rewarding.
Yeah, definitely.
Mine's a little complex, and I think, it's coming down the line, but, a lot of clients report out a lot. We report out a lot on our team. So I think like kind of building a customizable report that's less of an Excel, export, but like where you can manually like push and pull, different metrics and kind of see the report change. I think that would be super valuable, easily downloadable, and make reporting a lot more fun.
Yes.
Make it more visual.
Yeah, more dynamic reporting for sure. More customized. The other question I wanted to ask, but as we're getting into Walmart and talking about all the things that we have there, do you shop at Walmart?
Yeah.
Or on Walmart?
Absolutely. I am 100%. I have the Walmart app and I'm a Walmart Plus user. We have deliveries to our house. We are like fully bought in to the Walmart experience online for sure.
Claire?
Well, living in Chicago, there's not really Walmart, so you can definitely ship things. So I've definitely done that. But when I went to Clemson, I think the only mass retailer was Walmart that was like 20 minutes away. So it was essential for sure.
The only thing I've ever bought from Walmart.com was a scooter for a friend's kid. And I bought it because the selection on Amazon did not have the specific type of scooter, and only Walmart did. And they could deliver it within a few days. So that was, since then I'm not a member, but I've always been impressed with that. So let's pivot into Walmart. And I think the goal of the conversation is, can we talk about cold launch? How do we get started on Walmart if you've never advertised there, you've been selling there? And we're really speaking from the perspective of an enterprise brand. Okay, and we'll kind of move from cold launch. What's that setup like with Walmart? What's it set up like with Pacvue? And how do you get measurement rolling? What's reporting like? What are the opportunities? What are the challenges? And I'll continue to kind of like feed the questions. And I think I'm going to throw the question out to Wes and just say, cold launch, you are currently selling your products on Walmart, either as a vendor or as a seller. What is the cold launch process like?
The cold launch process can be extremely intimidating, honestly. You're starting with a completely blank slate. There are lots of voices in the room. It's certainly not a lack of guidance from many different sources. So I feel that many of my clients deal with a hesitation to just really get in there and start launching campaigns. There are a lot of aspects to consider. Thinking about like how to organize your campaigns, how to segment them, what products belong together, the targeting. Should this be segmented for keywords or should it be segmented for a KPI of some sort? So really, I think there's a lot of hesitation, and what we try to offer is a voice of reason. Saying that starting somewhere is better than not starting at all. But I do think that there's a lot of headroom to improve on how we help clients really just get started.
So that's the customer or the client success perspective. Now, Claire is a strategic consultant, and this is the type of thing that she does all the time. So, Claire, let's say that you've got a supplements brand, let's say, they do a lot of business on Amazon across retail media, and Walmart has been a struggle for them, and they come to you for guidance on how to get started. What is step number one?
Yeah, I think there's two things that are a lot of times an afterthought, but should be the prep before you even think about campaign setup, and that's what is your budget, and then kind of what is your goal and priorities going into advertising. And I think the biggest thing is people are looking at KPIs after they set up or trying to shift the strategy after, but it's so important to think about it before. Like how much budget do you have with the $50 a day minimum? Mm-hmm. So many people get caught up with launching a campaign structure and then they're overpacing because they didn't realize there was a minimum, and then you're spreading the peanut butter too thin across all the campaigns. So having an understanding, number one, of what your budget is and how many campaigns can you have, and then working the strategy around that. And then what are your goals? Like, do you have certain portions of your business that you really want to grow? And are you focused on, just growing sales generally, like growing share? Having an understanding of that will kind of impact what is your mix of campaign types. But I would say the basics are, whether it's multiple brands or multiple categories within a brand, the more granular you go, the more efficient your campaigns are going to be. So taking a look at the whole catalog and grouping the products by category or brand is going to be the most effective for you, and then applying, based on the budget you have, can you have auto campaigns, a brand keyword campaign, a category keyword campaign, and those are going to be your three, very much like your base support. And now with Sponsored Brand Amplifier being self-service, which is awesome, obviously a little bit more expensive, but super valuable. I think we've seen studies that those types of ads, although they're more expensive, are much more effective at driving sales. Like those impressions, it's one impression, but you're showing up to 4 products at the top of the page, and that's a great way, for new products. So I think, taking a look at that category set in your catalog, breaking it out by category, and then starting with like an auto brand category campaign. And you can always use your auto campaign as kind of a basis to see what are your products serving on, and then build out that keyword list from there.
That is a great place to start, and I think we should narrow in a little bit more there and just give people, let's talk very specifically about what that looks like. There's a term that the strategic consulting team uses called Playbooks, and this is really the foundation. Before you go do anything in the account, this is your planning phase, right? Mm-hmm. And this is when you go look at the catalog, the products that are available that you will be selling on a platform, and you break those out into their different product groupings, whether it's variants or different categories of products, different colors, whatever it is that makes the most sense from an advertising perspective, right? Mm-hmm. And then with each of those product groupings, you're also going to have keywords associated with them. And those fall into typical groupings of like branded category competitor, right? And that can be different for each one. And that's kind of like the bread and butter of that playbook, right? And from there you can kind of build out what the campaign layout is going to look like. So I know I've kind of taken half of it. Like, how do you follow up with a playbook? Why is it so essential? And what does it do for you long term?
I think it's phenomenal. It gives you such a phenomenal foundation, and also is a great way to just like talk to the client, because they know the products best, and you know the e-commerce ecosystem best. So being aligned on that, and also you may have certain products and you don't know like what people are searching or what's in the product, all of those details. So they can also help you build out that keyword list. But it's a phenomenal foundation that you can grow from there. For example, I think one great thing about Walmart with the new changes and the relevancy changes is you have so much more power to impact your organic ranking and grow your traffic and grow your share in different places, which was a little bit harder to do before those changes went into effect. So also think about, and aligning with the client on what they want to be serving on. Because, you may see like this is what people are searching for this type of term, but that may not align with where they want to take that product or how they really want to be categorized. So I think that foundation is great, and then you can continue to test and learn and expand on that. For example, if you have a category, but like one or two keywords are eating up majority of your budget, which happens a lot, like broader terms, whether it may be like t-shirts or like shorts, and maybe you break those, keywords out into its own campaign so that you can control exactly which SKUs show on it and control exactly how much budget you want to put behind those, how much you want to bid on that. So I mean that foundation is key, and then you can break out, test and learn from there. We've seen a lot of success with like having brand and category for each product grouping, like you say, but then also a general branding campaign is incredibly valuable for just those like tried and true terms that may not be product focused, and then you have the ability to swap out products that you want, because obviously those people most of the time already know your brand or may have seen an ad upper funnel somehow. So how do you introduce them to those new products or the products that you're really trying to grow?
I think it's super helpful. I think something to take away from this whole like the playbook conversation, the pre-launch conversation, is what Claire says about test and learn and being able to shift on a dime depending on what your goals are, because those change often, is having that playbook in place. That is the foundation. It should be table stakes. You should be doing that no matter what. This isn't just like something that's extra that you should do. This is nearly mandatory, because we call it the playbook because this is the place, this is the foundation, this is the place where everything is going to generate from. It's not necessarily strategy, but once you have the foundation in place, you can implement a strategy using this foundation and go any direction. And that's kind of the powerful piece of the playbook.
Yeah, I think it's a mix of both of like our teams, because you can lay out, how many campaigns do you want, what products are in each campaign, what keywords do I want to bid on, how much do I want to bid, like what is the budget, so you have a bird's eye view of what your strategy looks like. And then it's also easy to implement. And then going back to tags, you can take a look at like what makes the most sense from a tag perspective, or I think that's also key. Like your campaign setup, how does the client want to report out, like what's important to them, because if you combine everything but they want to see a granular look from category 1 and category 2, then that's so much more work on your plate to try to like deep dive that out later on.
Yeah. So I'm curious, from Wes's perspective, I think Claire knows exactly what to do when she takes a look at an account. She goes, we need a playbook. Let's just take an analysis of what this entire account has. What are the products? What are the categories? What are the keywords? What are we going to do? From your perspective, you jump into an account and they might, either it's cold start and they have no data, no history, and maybe no direction. What is your setup process? Because it might look a bit different.
My setup process is really all about just getting data. I think that what gets left behind often is just this idea that you have to start off with maximum efficiency and very precise targeting, and everything has to be very well structured and in place. I actually disagree with that approach. I think that just getting a campaign started and collecting the data back and understanding, what placements are performing, what platforms are performing, and so forth. That data itself, whether you've got $10 ROAS or $1 ROAS, is extremely, extremely valuable. And that can inform how you build, additional campaigns. And there's, I think, also this idea that, it all has to be started off on the right foot. But really, ad campaigns on Walmart or any other platform, really, it's almost a living, breathing thing. It can be modified, it can be optimized, it can be changed at any time. And it's not, set it and forget it is like a dirty phrase in our line of work. We're constantly engaged. We build a tool to optimize a lot of the hands-on keyboard aspects of it, but there's still like a level of engagement that I think is almost required. And that stems from, constantly looking for improvements, not necessarily from getting started on the right foot and then walking away. So for me, it's really just about getting started in the first place.
I love the contrast because I'm with Claire. I love precise organization and I can't live without it. It's just the way I live my life. It's the way I like to work. But in reality, if you're trying to get started on a platform like Walmart, and I think this will lead nicely into our next topic, just launching an auto campaign of your best performing product or your most important product is going to teach you a lot about the platform. And you're going to learn a lot about your opportunities. You're going to learn a lot about the keywords that are available. And we can still get our playbook from that starting point, right? Like, I agree with both of you, and it really depends on kind of where the brand is at or what your goals are.
Yeah, I think that the caveat obviously is that, if somebody's starting from a completely blank slate, it's better to launch a campaign than to spend too much time really trying to over-organize and over-segment. But, of course, if they have campaign history and they have running campaigns, then Claire's going to be able to come in and really kind of connect all of the dots and reorganize and restructure in the best possible way. And I think that, there's definitely different approaches to that, of course, but just for somebody who's never advertised before or a brand that's never had existing campaigns, auto bid campaigns are really the bread and butter of getting started. That can inform so many decisions moving forward.
What I think is really fair on that is, because at first I was like, oh boy, is that Walmart's taxonomy online is based off of their in-store taxonomy, so it's pretty tight. So whereas Amazon may be a little bit looser, you may show in a variety of areas that maybe aren't as relevant. Walmart's site is very tight. And it's it's a little bit wider range now with the relevancy improvements, but you're not necessarily going to show in irrelevant places for the most part. So I think that's fair. The one thing I would add is that I always recommend people start with low bids and then incrementally increase. So I think then you're not just blowing it out on, places that are less efficient, those broader terms, things like that. So if you incrementally increase bids, then you find that equilibrium between budget and traffic, and so you're efficient within what you have to offer.
I wanna double down on that point because I feel like we're all coming at this differently, and in general there is not just one way to manage retail media. You can come up with your own way that we have not talked about here today, and it can be wildly successful, right? But there are some things that matter, and to Claire and I, foundation is extremely important. That is just the starting point. But another one is Guardrails. And Pacvue gives you some unique capabilities that are guardrails that can prevent you from burning the house down and spending too much money in a weekend or letting a campaign run wild, a keyword run wild. So let's talk about Guardrails just for a quick moment. What are the features within, and we'll start with Wes, what are the features within Pacvue that can help you, you've got a budget cap, you have certain restrictions within your company, your organization. What are the guardrails that Pacvue provides so that you can, continue to run it? Because your ultimate goal is, I want to build this big ad system on Walmart. How can I get there? By showing success over and over, not by having, I overspent or my ROAS is terrible. So what are those guardrails? Where would you start?
For me, I think the first things that I recommend is setting up your budget manager. Getting in there and establishing your month-to-month budget, and then of course, implementing the stop overspend and budget pacing. Those are really critical for making sure that you don't overspend, for one, because that money has to come from future ad spend. So you really safeguard yourself by getting involved with Budget Manager. What I love about Budget Manager is that there are multiple levels of granularity for it. You can start at the profile level, and you can have an overarching budget established. Then you can decide what your daily spend is going to be for each campaign. But as you evolve in the platform, you can decide to go to campaign tag level, and that can allow you to set different budgets.
Tag level.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that tags are kind of an evolved state of a campaign. But when you start connecting your strategy using tags with your the finance of it, then you actually really protect yourself.
Yeah.
And it can be, especially if you have a large catalog, it can be really critical to maintaining that success.
It's funny, the granularity conversation is with Pacvue. I feel like every single part of the tool has granularity that could freak people out,
Yeah.
but also there's an opportunity for you to stay high level if you want to, and that's one of the things I enjoy. And like Budget Manager is a great place because if you just say, all I've got is 50K for this month, I cannot go over it, or 5K, whatever it is. Just having that in place is going to save you a lot of headache with finance or whoever is going to come looking for you if you overspend.
There's definitely a peace of mind aspect to it,
Yes.
for sure.
So Claire, I'm going to give you the same question, like guardrails, and you can expand on it beyond, like Wes started talking about tags, because in a way, tags give you a guardrail into reporting where you can show people, well, yeah, maybe my ACoS was too high, but like if I really zero in, let's look at what we did because of tags. I can really zoom in and see what's going on.
I love tags. I think tags are the second thing you need to do after setting up your campaigns.
Mm-hmm.
And so many people are not sure exactly how you should set up tags, but I think based on how you budget is key, because I think that's an integral part of the budget module. Whether you have different brands and you have budgets for brands, or you want to break it out by auto, brand, category, I think that's what a lot of times is used, because auto should be starting like it's a large portion of your budget when you start, but then should be less and less as you expand your keyword set. And then brand and category, and based on efficiency of those different tags and what the client wants to do. So if they're really looking to grow their share in sales, obviously you'd want to put more budget towards category, those non-branded terms and non-branded campaigns, or at a category level. And it's not like one way to do it. We change our tags all the time based on changing priorities with clients, but it just makes your life so much easier to be able to funnel budget where you want it, to be able to take a look in the tool at performance, like month over month or week over week at a certain tag. So I think that is like number one thing I would do for people, or recommend people set up, is tags. And then the automated rules I think is amazing. So when I talked about incrementally increasing bids, obviously that would be like 30 minutes a day if you went through, or probably more, a day looking at that. But you can set up the automated rules to increase 10 cents or 10% like every few days if it's still like low volume. And then on top of that you have a cap. So if something's spending a ton but the ROAS is horrible and below $1, you can slowly decrease that so that you find an equilibrium of great performance and efficiency for your account. So I'd say budget module and tags and automated rules. Yeah, and you can set up automated rules. Obviously there's a library now, which also makes your life super easy. But at the tag level, so you're not going to bid the same on brand terms that you are category non-branded terms. So setting that up at those levels is also super helpful.
I want to zoom out really quick because clearly Claire has a bias for organization and tags, and I'm with her. To me, when I try to explain Pacvue to people and like we're going in a specific order, tags is the great unlock of the tool. Without it, I mean, you can use the tool without tags, but with tags, that's where you can really start having a lot of fun and be extremely precise and be dangerous. So I want to know.
Precise and
There should be a
efficient
badge
with
for
your time.
that, I think.
I agree. So, Wes, how would you, in a concise way, like how would you describe what a tag is for someone who's never heard the concept? This is what you tell people every day how to do this. So.
Yeah, I would describe tags as a organizational tool. There's two levels to it. It can be organizing your strategy, or it can be organizing your data. And those two sides of it, when they merge, you really level up in the tool. You can establish tags based on, as Claire said, based on your budget. And then when you're ready to start seeing the results of that, you can organize your data along those tags as well, and really start to create different columns of performance based on those tags. And it doesn't necessarily have to be based on a certain group of items. It can also be based on a specific strategy. Let's say, for example, you're really needing to get certain items off the shelves. ROAS is not as important as just moving volume. And so you could tag those items and really kind of have a different set of rules for them than you do the rest of your catalog. And that ability to segment within your existing organization, honestly, it can, to use the term again, level up your ability in the tool.
Yeah, great.
I think the easiest explanation is buckets. They're just buckets
Yeah.
for campaigns, whether it's like
I'm gonna use that for sure.
yeah, auto category, or the different categories you have or the different brands you have. Or one thing I love is like win versus play, which kind of killer. So if you have certain categories, brands, campaigns that like are much higher priority, you can give them more budget, be more competitive. Their win versus like play, where you want to be more efficient. You may not put as much budget there, and so you need to optimize and treat those very differently. So that's helpful that way also.
Can we go to the third? It's win, play, and I've seen
It
another.
changes. We've seen own, win, play competitively, which is huge categories that are very competitive, but you need to be there. Play, and we've also thrown in compete kind of as our play competitively recently.
So my explanation of the tags, and just I love the tags as well. So what I like to say is it unlocks three things for you. One is reporting and insights. It just gives you that granularity that we keep talking about. And then automation kind of covers the other two, and that would be the budget manager and rules, right? It unlocks these things and makes you extremely specific in what you're trying to accomplish. So the beauty is, as we keep kind of growing this conversation, we started with this foundation of how you get started, or you can go Wes's route and kind of begin launching campaigns specifically. And if you tag them, you can imagine that you have these buckets, and you get to report on these buckets, or you get to optimize into these buckets for very specific goals. And it just makes your life as an account manager so much easier. Because without it, the best example would be Amazon profiles, or portfolios. And they just fall short. One, because you can only have one campaign per portfolio, or a campaign cannot be in multiple portfolios. Whereas with tags, is there a limit on tags? How many?
Absolutely not.
No. You could say, here are all my tags for the category branded auto, and then you can also say, here are my play win tags, and then you could also be like, oh, I'm going to use this for billing as well.
We see that a lot actually. I've seen that with billing.
There's so many different ways to use tags. It really is kind of the like Swiss Army knife of the Pacvue tool, and I really enjoy those as well. So we've talked about kind of like the cold launch process on Walmart, and some things I want to talk about with Walmart is limitations and opportunities. Okay, so we've heard Claire talk about budget minimums, and there was, what was the other kind of like limitation that came up? Maybe not having sponsored, sponsored brand amplifier? SBA?
Yeah.
For sellers or something?
It's not available for sellers, and you're very limited by the manual approval process also.
There's always going to be limitations and opportunities on every platform. Let's talk limitations first, and I'll give it to Wes.
Okay. I think for one, a limitation with Walmart is non-transferability of the historical data. You know, and as far as I'm aware, that applies to every platform. So, you know, not having that initial context can be kind of handcuffing for a client that is wanting to really step up their campaign strategies. I'd say another is possibly the lack of certain features. Negative keyword targeting would be a major one that I've heard time and time again. That is something that, you know, even when I've already explicitly said that Walmart does not have that, the same client will ask repeatedly, hey, is this available yet? And it's almost an inevitability that Walmart will eventually come out with it. I think that just on that note, and to credit Walmart for this, that's almost built into the tool. It's almost built into the Walmart algorithm to only have products really show for the keywords that they're relevant to. There's almost less of a need to negatively target keywords. Not to say that that should be done away with, but I will credit Walmart for having a structure already in place that takes some of that workload off of the advertiser's plate.
Sure. Because it seems like a major red flag to people coming from platforms like Amazon, where they've seen their bleeding keywords in their search term report, and they know that that's something they need to go handle when they go to Walmart, but it doesn't prove to be such a major problem on Walmart, right? So, limitations, Claire.
I definitely think the keywords is one, but I think with the relevancy enhancements and kind of widening that net, that the negative terms will become more of a top priority. I think the $50 a day minimum is definitely a struggle for a lot of people. I think some of the biggest limitations they've worked on recently with like second price auction and relevancy, and historically it was so hard. You had to have an always on. I always say Walmart is the long game. You very much have to have an always on strategy that's consistent to really impact the organic ranking and the overall share. It takes a lot longer to grow than like an Amazon, where you can almost immediately impact your PDPs and your SKUs share. I think they're very much moving in the right direction on that, so they've made some huge strides. In second price auction, I think we've had a lot of conversations recently about, obviously we've seen like 20 to 30% improvements across categories in efficiency. I think that like people still have it in mind that Walmart's more expensive, it's less efficient. So I think we'll see that evolve, because it is, the CPCs are kind of comparable to Amazon at this point, which is great. And I think one thing we talk about a lot as an opportunity, I know you asked me about limitations,
It's
but
fine.
I mainly talk
You're
about
taking my
positive.
next topic.
Is what was I saying? I totally lost
Opportunities. We were talking about, you kind of rolled into the updates. We went from limitations.
Very specific.
Second price, budget limitations with the $50 minimum.
There's still way less advertisers on Walmart compared to Amazon, and I think people don't know that. And I think people also don't understand, like obviously Amazon is a beast, it's an online beast, but Walmart is an online and offline beast.
Yeah.
And I think we talk about this a lot, like there's a difference in people who shop at Amazon, the Walmart consumer versus like a Target consumer. And that's especially for CPG and brands like that, Walmart's a huge customer. So I think people really need to lean in.
Yeah, it definitely seems like people are trying to get on board to Walmart, but it seems there are some, in terms of limitations that I've seen, there are just some things in the way that are outside of our control as advertisers or as like a software company, like getting set up, right? Like becoming a vendor, becoming a seller, getting an advertising account. Those hoops prove to be kind of challenging for people, and there's not much we can do for them there. I think we should kind of shift into opportunities though, because Claire kind of like teed it up. There is a ton of opportunity on Walmart. I think it's just getting started. Like if we were just in another meeting where we're talking about how Amazon advertising got started. Well, it was over a decade ago, they've been doing this for a long time. That's why they have the most sophisticated retail media network. So Walmart has been at it for 4 or 5 years. Yeah, I mean,
Oh, yeah, it was like with
self-serve maybe.
Yeah, self-serve maybe 2,
Yeah.
3.
So
Yeah.
they're just
Couple of
figuring
years.
this stuff out, and they are the largest retailer in the world, or close. I mean,
US.
one of the in the U.S. And there's so much opportunity. So let's talk about opportunities for a moment. Wes, you haven't had a chance to dive in.
Sure. In my point of view, I think that a lot of the opportunity could stem from allowing variants to be advertised. And because of the way that Walmart's search is structured, only one item from a variant stack can be advertised, and that's always the parent item. What I would love to see is the ability to perhaps toggle or just change, which item is actually displayed. This could be, a huge opportunity for brands that have deep variant stacks because perhaps they're a clothing retailer and they have many sizes, or they sell a product that comes in of various quantities and so forth. But it's not always obvious which should be the parent item or the base item. And it doesn't always make sense to advertise the base item during certain time periods. So that would allow people to take advantage of seasons, and it would allow them to actually A/B test as well, without having to go and completely reorganize their product stack. To me, I think that's one of the major opportunities that could be taken advantage of.
I think it's a great one. Claire, do you have any more? You had some opportunities.
I think I'm gonna approach opportunities like differently. I think a couple things to highlight is Walmart gives you a lot of good granular optimization levers that you don't get on Amazon. I think with auto campaigns, being able to bid at the item level is huge and underrated, because that allows you to prioritize based on what's more efficient, what's more priority for a brand, which a lot of times if you aren't able to bid at the item level, then if you do have to optimize at that granular level, you have to break things out. So love that. I think also all the different levers from like placement, page type, things like that you don't necessarily get on Amazon. People can take a look at, because there's definitely variance of performance by page, so you can lean in one way or the other. And then I think they combined the .com and pickup and delivery ecosystem online, and we get data on sales per both. And a lot of some brands have different SKUs for .com versus pickup and delivery. Some go across both. I would love to see us be able to optimize differently for .com versus pickup and delivery.
Yeah.
Because I think there's probably some differences in like what's in people's carts for one versus the other, so you can optimize differently. Maybe expand into more complementary terms for one versus the other. So I know.
I second that for sure.
Yeah.
And Walmart gives brands very specific goals per .com versus pickup and delivery. So if we can't optimize to that, it's kind of a disconnect. We just kind of have to do what we can.
Mm-hmm. I feel like opportunities kind of leads into this, maybe the last question, which is, what do you love about Walmart? Like when you're, Wes, you're very close to it. You work with people every day on Walmart. Claire, you're managing from a strategic perspective. Like, what are your favorite things about the platform?
For me, honestly, it's still kind of, some people used to call Walmart the Wild West, but I see it as the land of opportunity. You can be a very small seller and find enormous success in Walmart, and the chances and the opportunities that Walmart affords to those smaller scale sellers, to me, is what I love the most, honestly.
Claire?
For a while I liked Walmart because it was a challenge. But I think with so many of the optimizations and changes they've made to the site, it's super exciting to kind of like lean in. I think there's so much information around Amazon, how to activate on Amazon. There's also so many products on Amazon, it can be so overwhelming. Like we see these small brands or sellers bidding on these huge brands and trying to combat that. So I think Walmart is very comparable to like an in-store. They really take that in-store experience and apply it online, which I think is super valuable and also keeps people like on track. Like they're used to seeing all these brands, you know, in store, and they bring that to the online shelf. So I think there's a lot of opportunity there, and I think it's a great consumer experience.
I'd like to tack on something to what you said, which is the really the standards that Walmart has set in place. They have very rigorous standards for becoming a seller and for advertising. And I think that, you know, the people who are in the game now should appreciate that, because it ensures the quality of the product listings, and ensures the product itself is also high quality. And honestly, that elevates all brands when you have that level of standards.
Great. Well, I think that's probably a wrap. We'll do some outros. Probably just like reintroduce ourselves, say thanks for watching, and should we just kind of like round robin those, you think, individually?
Yep.
Okay, so I'll just tee it off and you guys can do, you know, again, name, title, thanks for watching, and I think like long term, the Walmart onboarding course just continues to grow, and this content will kind of be just like dropped in different places. So it's just nice that like at the very end, thanks for joining us. You two are the subject matter experts of the platform. So I'll do it real quick. So thank you for joining us. Again, I'm Kyle Kirkwood, Director of Training here at Pacvue, and this is the Walmart onboarding course.
My name is Wes. I'm a Customer Success Manager, Client Success Manager at Pacvue, and I appreciate you sharing your time with us today, and for giving me the opportunity to share my excitement for Walmart.
I'm Claire Hogan. I'm a Senior Account Manager on our Strategic Consulting team. Very leaned into Walmart, and don't forget to implement your tags.
Cool. Nice job, guys. That was awesome. Good stuff.
Woo!
Good job.